to the Knitting by the Sea podcast. My name is Lisa. I am Saratoga Knitting on Instagram and on Ravelry, and I welcome you to my home. I live in Marblehead, Massachusetts, which is just a little bit north of Boston. It's a small harbor town, so out my window here I can see down to the harbor. And I live in a very old house. This house was originally built in 1750 as a warehouse, and it was converted into a residence in 1850. And I feel very, very lucky to live here. So I welcome you to my home today. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do today. We're going to do a few things. I have some works in progress. I have finished objects. I have the next installment of Meet the Designer. I will talk about Rhinebeck today, and then we'll just do some chatter at the end. So let's get started. Finished objects. I have 4 to show you today, which I think is pretty good right now. So the first one, I have 2 pairs of socks, a cowl, and a hat. So the first pair of socks, or the first sock that I want to show you, is the Forest Floor socks. So these are by Sarah Bauer, who is Sarah Pomegranate on Instagram and on Ravelry. Aren't those beautiful? I test knit these for her right before Rhinebeck, so they came out great. They are a top-down sock with a heel flap and a gusset, and then she also has this little bit of ribbing right at the ball of the foot, right below the ball of the foot, so that the sock foot actually kind of sucks in and stays really nice and tight on your feet. These, I test knit them in the larger size, so they're a little bit big for me, but they're going to be given to Sophia, so she's the lucky one to receive these. So these are completed and finished and ready to be given to Sophia. My second pair of socks that I completed is called the Bleeding Love Socks, and these are by Salapalooza Knits on Instagram and on Ravelry, and this is Elizabeth, and she's from Norway. And she also has a podcast, which is really great, so you should go check it out. I'll put the link down below. But these are super cool. This was my October project for the Harry Potter Knit Along, the O-Loops Harry Potter Knit Along. And these fit into the challenge that we had. So these are great. I love these. The pattern is written top down, but I just switched it up because I love to knit socks toe up. So I just turned everything around and started toe up, and it's really just fun because you have a little bit of color work. So you're just adding in that color, so it kind of looks like it's bleeding down into the toe here. And this is beautiful O-Loops yarn that I'm using, and then the other colors at the top here, where the same thing happens, where you're just kind of bleeding into each other. These are all just scraps, so these are great. This is a great pattern to use up some scrappy yarn that you might have. But this was super fun to actually knit, and I've gotten actually a few compliments on them as I've already begun to wear them because it's getting a little bit cold here in the Boston area. So I'm really super pleased with these. This was my October challenge, and I completed it in time. So super happy with these. My next completed pattern is called I think it's a Croydon hat, and this is by Nadine Dransfield. She also has a podcast, the Slow Crafting podcast, and this is a hat pattern, and it also has an accompanying cowl pattern, but I just knit the hat. And this was really super special yarn that a friend of Sophia's picked up for me when she went to Ireland, or Sophia had asked her to pick up some yarn, and so she picked this up. This is really great Irish yarn. It was extremely crunchy. I would have said it was really super itchy. It was very stiff when I was knitting it, but once I washed it, it really has softened up beautifully, and it's still not, this is perfect for a hat. It's not something I would wear against my skin still, but it's really perfect. And the nice thing about this hat pattern, which I think is really cool, is that you use short rows. So the back is a little bit shorter than the front brim. So, when you put on a hat, sometimes it kind of bunches up in the back, especially for me when I have shorter hair, it just kind of bunches up on my neck. And this works out really great. I'd never thought about this before, but this was a really perfect thing. So you just start out here, but you do some short rows back and forth to make the brim much larger in the front, and then you begin to work on the pattern in the hat. So I'm really super pleased with this. This is going to be great and really, really warm for this winter. So great pattern. The third completed object that I have is I'm dropping things over here. They're leaning over. The third object that I have is called the Sunset Mesa Cowl, and this is actually by Jennifer Berg, who is was the designer, Meet the Designer, for last month's podcast. And I just loved her pattern so much that I actually purchased this one, the Sunset Mesa Cowl, and did this. And I used, you can see this, it's super fuzzy. I used the Pluta Lopi from Iceland as the gray background, and then this, all the color work in it is actually my hand spun. So this is the combo spin that I did this past summer. So it started out as green, and then these really pops of neon orange and yellow, and I put them together, and you just come out with these beautiful fall colors. And this is great. I've already worn it. I think I wore it at Rhinebeck to start, and it's just super warm and super comfy and snuggly, and I just love it. So those are my finished objects for this month. So now let's move on to some works in progress. Works in progress. I have a few of those too. So let's see. The first one I think I'll show you, I'm just going to reach down here, is I decided to cast on a Shift Cowl by Andrea Mowry, and I actually really like it. It's one of those projects where I did have to rip it out a little bit because I kind of missed some of the repeats. And you have to kind of get into the rhythm of it because it is, I think it's mosaic knitting, so you're only knitting with one color at a time and then knitting back with it, and then you pick up the second color and knit back. So you're not actually holding two colors at the same time. So it's not color work, but it is using that. So this is really cool. I think it's really coming out nicely. And this is just kind of yarn that I had hanging around. So I think the white color, the background color, is just some Barocco Ultra wool, which I'm using. And the green is the rest. I still have this left of that amazing Primrose Yarn Co. yarn that I made my sweater out of and my cowl. So I still have a ball of this left. So I thought I really need to use this completely up. And then the third skein of yarn is some Classic Elite Inca print. That's what this is. You can see that, Inca print. And that is multicolored. So it is just kind of a crazy colored yarn, but it pulls in the green. I think you can see that it's got some of that same olivey green color in it, so that's why I thought it would work well together. It's an interesting construction, and I am enjoying it. The yarn is very, very soft, very, very soft. So I'm really hoping it's maybe a tiny bit stiff, but not too bad. I think that I will probably block it fairly aggressively when I do get to that point, but I think it's going to be really cool. So I'll continue to work on this, and I'll show you as I progress and see what I think about it as I get on with it. But yeah, I'm really actually kind of enjoying it. It's kind of a good Netflix binging project, so to speak. The second project that I'm also working on, again, I'm going to lean down here, and this is my year-long not year-long, but 3-month-long Harry Potter project. So part of it, we each have monthly challenges to do, and then based on your year in school, you have a 3-month challenge to do. And so I'm a 7th year student, so I'm taking my Newts, I think, this year. Forget what it is, but I think it's the Newts. So this is has to be a larger project. Again, using Oloops yarn if you want to. And so I am actually doing the Hollows pattern by Melody Hoffman, and I'm really enjoying it. I have 3 skeins of this beautiful Oloops yarn. Oop, that's the back. But here it is so far, and this is actually really pretty. This is an easy project as well. There are short rows, so you are making some short rows to do the sides. I'll pull it out. It's going to be a fairly large shawl, but it's super pretty. So it has some short row areas, and it has some yarn over areas. So you've got some lace in there, and then just the rest of it is just basically stockinette stitch. So it's really pretty easy, but I think it's going to be beautiful and nice, and it'll be a really nice spring shawl to throw around my neck or my shoulders. But I'm really super pleased with this. I'm already probably about halfway through with this, so I just kind of picked this up. I've been, the first pair I did up for Harry Potter, the first challenge was a pair of socks, so that went fairly quickly. So once I finish those in the month, then I pick this up and start working on that. So that's why I've gotten so far with this. So I'm probably going to do the same for the November challenge as well. So that's my second project. I'm really pleased with that one. And then the third project is another pair of socks for Harry Potter. I'm going to lean down again. And this pair I really love. This is Harry Potter. This is Oloops yarn. It's super beautiful. Oh my gosh, really, really beautiful. And these are the Infinity socks, and these are also by Elizabeth Salapalooza Knits. I'm really super pleased with this. I think they look really, really, really cool. I like this pattern quite a bit. It's not difficult. It looks like it's difficult, but it's really not. And again, these are actually written top down, but I'm doing them toe up. And the interesting thing about this is that the instep stitches on the top, usually when you're doing a pattern like this, you kind of split it. So basically half of the stitches are used on the top and half of the stitches are used on the bottom for the foot. But in this case, she has more of the stitches on the top. So the sides of the sock will go a little bit farther down than maybe on a normal sock when you see the foot. But it's perfectly good, because that way you can get 3 repeats of the sock pattern around here, and so then you just continue it. I've already done, again, I've switched up. I've done the Fish Lips Kiss heel on this, and I really like this heel because it fits really well on me. And then now I'm transitioning into the calf part of the sock. Now this is a pattern challenge, but it's also a yardage challenge. So what I did this time is that I actually split the skein of yarn, because we have to use at least 400 yards of yarn. So I actually split the skein of yarn into 2 balls, and I measured them, and I weighed them, and I equaled them out. So what I'm basically going to do is just knit the leg of this sock until I run out of yarn. So that may be a little bit longer than I usually make them, but that's okay. That's really kind of cool. They'll be really warm this winter when I wear them. But I am just super pleased with this. I really like the way that this pattern is coming out. So again, the Infinity Socks by Salapalooza Knits. I'm super happy with these. And this is my bus knitting right now. As I mentioned in the past, I only live, as the crow flies, about 20 miles outside of Boston, and I work in Boston every day. But it takes me about an hour and a half to commute every day. So the first part of my commute is on a bus, and so that's where I get a lot of my sock knitting completed, doing that. The last project that I have on my needles currently, I'm really pretty psyched about this one. This is the Seascape sweater. I'm just pulling it up here, and it is really beautiful. This for me is going to be a big oversized sweater that I'll either wear outside or I'll wear inside if I need to be really cozy. It gets really cold in the winter sometimes in these old houses, but I am really super pleased with this. The actual pattern in Ravelry, I think, is probably knit with like DK yarn, and it's designed to be a crop sweater, but I'm not doing that with this. I'm just doing it big and oversized. The gray is the Plutalopi from Iceland. I have that here caked up. And then the other two colors the 3 colors actually, I have the brown, and I have a pink color, and then I also have a greenish color. And those yarns are from Carolyn on Patreon, where I actually I'm a patron of hers, and she and her partner Knut own a spinning mill, and so they are in the beginning stages of actually putting together fiber and putting together yarn for knitting. And I am super pleased with this. As a patron, you get to choose. You get an initial. You get notified ahead of time when they're having a shop update. And this was from a couple of months ago, but I actually picked up the brown and the green and the pink, and this is the pink color here. But again, you can see what I'm using for this. This is all unspun yarn. So this I'm not using this right now, so I can show you. So it's very fragile, and it just pulls apart. So you just have to, this is not something that you can knit with if you are tense, if you are uptight. You have to be very relaxed in doing this. Now the fabric that it makes is super strong. There's nothing, this is not going to rip apart in any way, shape, or form. It's very, very strong, but you do have to be very kind of gentle when you are knitting with it. So you need to kind of stop and think, and it's actually very very relaxing to knit with these unspun yarns. And this is also the yarn, and I've spoken about this before. I have received spinning fiber from Caroline, and I also have received this yarn from her, this yarn that they've spun. Both of those times I have commented that that when I am spinning with this, with the fiber, and also when I'm knitting with the yarn, they are really making an attempt to make yarn and fiber with no chemicals, with just as natural as you can. So they have left quite a bit of lanolin in the fiber and in this yarn. And when I was spinning up, I had gotten some green fiber from them over the summer. When I was spinning with it, my fingertips were just so soft, so soft and lovely. And now it's exactly the same experience when you're knitting with this. You can actually feel it. I can feel it here, and there's just a little bit of lanolin left in it. That it's almost, I think I'd said this before, but it's like a small gift, because my hands are like softer than when I started, when I'm knitting it. And it just is, for me, it's really very, very special to get yarn where I know the person that's not know, but I know her online, the person that's producing the yarn. I know where it's coming from. I have a picture in my mind of where they are. They're in Sweden. I have a picture of my mind of what that area looks like. And then I have this beautiful, beautiful yarn that I will be able to wear when I complete this sweater. But it's really super interesting to me that they do that, and so that they leave the lanolin in it. It really is just, it's such a special knitting experience. I've never had that. I've never had that experience. And it is you think about, if you have too much lanolin in, you think that it's going to be hard, and not at all. It is just super, super soft. Now that will come out. That comes out because when I was spun the green yarn that I had done this summer, that when I washed it, the lanolin does come out of it. It stays super soft, but the lanolin is not, that feel is not there really anymore once you wash it. So I anticipate that'll happen to the same thing with the sweater, but this is going to be super soft no matter what. Super soft and super warm, but it's really, really, really nice. Like I said, this is way oversized based on the pattern. If you looked it up in Ravelry, it will look like a much smaller sweater, but I specifically wanted to do that this way, because this is just going to be, I want to be able to wear this out and about and use it for what a sweater should be used for, which is to really keep you warm in the cold weather. So I'm really looking forward to this. It has a little short rows in the back. I've talked about short rows before. It gives you a little extra fabric in the back of your neck. If you didn't have that, what would happen is that the neck of a sweater would kind of tend to ride up. But if you have some short rows, then it allows the front of the sweater to come down a bit. So I am super, super happy with this. I'm almost done. I am on the, I actually finished the patterning on both sleeves, and now I'm doing the ribbing on the first sleeve. I think this pattern, it's going to end right about here, which is great because I'll always wear it with a turtleneck underneath it. So I'm really, really happy with this, and I'm so close to being done. I will probably finish it this week sometimes. Really, really, really happy with this. It just has so many, so many good things included in it, and really enjoyable knitting, beautiful yarn that's come from exotic places to me, and I'm just super happy with it as well. Oh, and I should mention that I'm wearing the I never say this right, the NG sweater. This is by Jennifer Steingess. I knit this last year, and this is a great pattern. This is a lovely pattern. I've only knit it once, but I will knit it again. The fit on me is really, really nice. I may not knit this exact yoke. I may knit a different pattern in the yoke. And what I liked about this as well is that it starts, it really starts below the patterning here, and you knit up. So you do a provisional cast on, which just means that you use waste yarn to cast on, and you start to knit up. So you knit all of the patterning, and then you knit you knit the neckline. And then what you do is, once you finish bound off the neckline, you flip it around and you pick up those provisional stitches, and then just knit down, and you're just using the stockinette all the way. You're just knitting all around. And I think it was it this last time, maybe the time before, on Fruity Knitting, when they went to Shetland Wool Week, but they had interviewed, I can't remember her name. I'll try to remember to put the episode down here at the bottom, but a Shetland knitter, and it was really interesting, because a lot of times in Shetland in the past, they would do the same thing. They would knit the yolks up and then actually put them on a machine and machine knit the rest, because it was really a matter of timing to kind of get the sweater done so it could be sold. So this particular part wasn't anything special as far as hand knitting was concerned, but the yoke was. And she actually said she had done a study recently, and she had wanted to try and see which way worked better, whether the bottom up for this type of collar work or the top down for this type of collar work. And it was super interesting, because what she was saying, that in her estimation, it was better for the yarn and for the look and feel of the patterning to work up, because what you're doing is decreasing your stitches as you're going. If you're working from the top down, you're increasing stitches, and she just feels that the decreases that you end up doing look better overall in the pattern than when you start from the top and go down, and then you're making increases. And then the way you make an increase, it just, however you do it, it doesn't look as neat and as tidy as doing the decreases up. I thought that was really interesting. I really enjoyed doing it this way. I really liked the way the neck line came out. So that is why I will knit this sweater again, and certainly using the pattern and then the schematics. I may change up. Jennifer Steingast, I think she has a couple of other ones that are knit this way, but I think right now she has switched to doing knitting top down. But as I said, I really enjoyed that construction. I enjoyed doing it that way, and then you really you got all the good stuff right away. So I think I would try that again, and maybe use a different pattern. Just do the count and maybe choose something else to put up there. But anyway, I just thought that was just a kind of an interesting aside. All right, so let's move on to the next section. All right, let's do the Meet the Designer section. So as you know, if you've been watching the podcast for the year of 2019, what I have decided to do is to highlight a new designer each month. And this is kind of my response to the incredible conversations that have been going on Instagram and in Ravelry regarding diversity, regarding persons of color, regarding inclusivity, just all of those topics. And there just have been some really incredible discussions, experiences, both good and bad, easy and difficult, on Instagram and on Ravelry. So feel free to go back and kind of check that out. But my response to it has been the opportunity to really take a look and see what different designers are out there, designers and yarn dyers, etc. And there are just so many creative people in this world. And as in anything else, if you look at Ravelry and you look on the front page, you have a lot of really big designers who are doing designs all the time, and there are hundreds of people that are knitting their designs, and that's perfectly fine. But also, if you dive deeper into Ravelry, there are just numerous designers out there that maybe you've never heard of. And certainly I had never heard of. So I'm kind of exploring that theme this year. So last month, my designer of the month was Jennifer Berg, who is a Native American, and she's from the Southwest. And she does some beautiful work. As you saw, she did the Sunset Mesa cowl that I showed you earlier. And so she was our designer. And the winner of the pattern for that month was post number 16, who is Stowe Studio, and that is Julie from Michigan. So congratulations, Julie. She also chose the Sunset Mesa cowl, and so check your mailbox, Julie. You should be receiving that pattern from me in the mail. And so what I do each month is I will highlight a designer, and then I ask you to go on to the Knitting by the Sea podcast group over in Ravelry and join the group if you're not already a member, and take a look at the designer's patterns and tell me which one you would like to knit and why. And then the following podcast, I will choose a winner, and I will gift you a pattern, the pattern that you chose from that designer. So don't forget to do that, and hopefully you'll be the winner the next time. My featured designer this time around is called, her name is Chanel Wu. You may know her as Piper Nell, and she does some really amazing designs. And I'm going to read a little bit of her information, and I'll put some pictures up as I'm talking. She says, I'm a graduate student in Colorado with too many interests and not enough time. When I was a new knitter, I was always modifying patterns and improvising designs. Naturally, when I figured out how to create charts and edit PDFs, I fell into designing. As a designer, I'm intrigued by unique shapes, creating my own stitches and unusual constructions. In my patterns, I aim to give you the creative power to choose color combinations that bring out your personality, as well as the ability to adapt the finished object to your preferences. I hope that my designs will inspire your craft. And she says, I'm always personally looking to improve myself as a designer and overall human being. She has what I've seen a few designers begin to do now, and they will list up a sliding scale for costs on their patterns. So basically, you can tell her what you feel you can afford to pay for her pattern. So she gives you 3 different codes. One is for 10% off, one is for 20% off, and one is for 30% off. And she also has some free copies that are available that are supported by any donations to Ko-fi and Patreon. And that's if you're really in some dire straits, but you just can't really love one of her patterns, she's happy to do that for you. So I find that very interesting. I know, as I said, I've seen a few other designers do that, and I think it's a great idea. You know, you can kind of it kind of helps them be paid what it is worth for their time and effort that they put into doing a design, but it also gives you, the consumer, the opportunity to say, well, you know, I really love this pattern, but maybe this month I can't quite make that full cost, and I'm really appreciative of the opportunity to get it for a little bit less. So I think that's a really creative idea, and I'm interested to see if more people start to do that and how that is working out. So what I ask you to do is to go ahead and take a look at Chanel's patterns on Ravelry. So you want to go and just look at the Ravelry. I'll put the link down below as well, and take a look at her patterns and see if there's one that you might like to knit, and put that in the Ravelry group thread. And next time I will pick a winner, and maybe you will be able to knit one of Chanel's patterns. All right, let's move on to Rhinebeck. As you know, Rhinebeck was last month in October. So again, it's always such a special experience for us to be able to go. I'm so happy, so lucky that we're able to go. We're close. I live close enough that I can go to. I can go to Rhinebeck. I can't go to the big European ones, but I can always get to Rhinebeck. So that is always a joy. It is always a great time of the year. This year, Sophia and I took an extra day, so we went Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that way we were able to go out to Saratoga and spend a day with my parents who still live there, and spend some time with my sister-in-law Tracy, who lives there as well. And we were able to go to a wonderful Friendsgiving that was put on by our friend Andrea at Rhinebeck Knitter. And we met up with lots of friends and made some new ones at that. And then we sat around after dinner and got to knit and talk. And it was just a lovely, lovely experience. It was really nice to be able to do that. If you go to Rhinebeck, or if you've been to a large fiber festival, there are so many people that you want to see, but you don't really have a really good chance to sit down and just have a good chat with them. And being able to do something like a meal beforehand, it was just great, because we were able to spend several hours together and knit and talk about patterns and talk about life and just catch up and seeing what everybody has been doing over the past year. So that was absolutely lovely. I just loved it. And then that was Wednesday night. Then Thursday, Sophia's best buds, Sarah and Emma, who come with us every year to Rhinebeck, came down to Saratoga a day early, so that was lots of fun as well. We hung out, and we went to the yarn shop in Saratoga, and we picked up a few things there, and we had a lovely breakfast at Mrs. London's, and we had lunch and met up with my other sister-in-law Diana and one of my nephews, and it was just really lots of fun. And then we in the early evening, we went over to actually to their house to hang out with them for a while because we hadn't seen them. So we got to see my brother and my other nephew, and just kind of hang out in front of their fireplace and talk. And then we actually had a hotel room, so we went back to the hotel and we got takeout pizza. What a treat that was. That was really just really fun. And so we we set ourselves up with we had my iPad out and we watched Shetland because the girls had not. I think Sophia had seen a few of the episodes, but Emma and Sarah had not seen that yet. So here we are, all warm and cozy. It was pouring rain, and we had Shetland on, and we were eating pizza and knitting, and that was lots of fun in and of itself. And then the next day we all met up and drove down to Rhinebeck. Tracy went with me, and the girls all went together. And we met up with Emma's mom also came, but she drove herself, Elaine. And then we had Lucy from Washington State, came all the way from Washington State. Our friend Lucy, we've known Lucy for 7 years now because I first met her on the Harry Potter Ravelry group, and she's also a moderator. So we've literally known each other for 7 years online and had never met. And she decided to come, and we were able to get her to stay with us. So that worked out great. So it was just so much fun to meet Lucy and have her come and stay with us. And it was very surreal being able to meet her after such a long time. And it was so much fun to spend time with her. And we all exchanged gifts, and it was just wonderful. We had a big meal at night. The first night, big meal. We got cold cuts and stuff, but we had a really nice meal together and stood up and we watched more Shetland and then before bed. And then on Saturday morning, of course, we all got up and we went to Rhinebeck. Yay. And just spent the day. It really, the weather was perfect. It couldn't have been better. It was a little bit chilly in the morning, but the sun was out. It was just lovely. You can buy your tickets ahead of time, so you can just use your phone and just pretty much get right in. And it was just fabulous. We walked around, went and watched all the people, and just looked at things. And yeah, the morning was just the usual rush. It was really nice. We actually went first to the food pavilion. They have one of the big buildings has all the food and products from New York State, because it is a New York State. It's part of the New York State Fair system. So we went there and got some goodies there. But that's also where they have all of the judging, and they have the hand spun up, and they have all the different projects that are being judged and have won prizes for. So that's always a really nice thing to do. We went, of course, to the podcaster meetup on the hill, which was that was crazy. It's always crazy, and you just never get to see everybody that you wanted to see. But we did. We got to see a lot of people, and it was just a lot of fun. We had lots of pictures taken because myself, Tracy, and Patricia didn't knit the right sweater, but so we had a meetup of folks that had done the raw work trees sweater. We had a little bit of a debacle with that. Andrea hadn't quite finished hers. Corinne hadn't quite finished hers. Lori had finished hers but forgot to bring it with her. But Tracy and I had our so we all had a big picture together anyway, and we had some really great memories of that. And then on Sunday, in the afternoon, we did a little bit of shopping at that point in time. And Saturday afternoon, I ended up purchasing a couple of things. So I got some really beautiful Nash Island tied, and it's wild Maine Island wool, and I've always wanted to get my hands on it. I just haven't really had a chance. But this is starcroftfiber.com, and it's really just very rustic, beautiful yarn, and I've always, heard about it from Fiber Truck, and so she helps Janny quite a bit. So I've always heard about this yarn, but it's really beautiful. So you can see this here, the thing, and I got it in these two beautiful colors. I have 2 skeins of each, And these are actually going to be the Copenhagen Calling Shawl by Isabel Kramer. I have had this in my queue for several years now, and I always look at it like, I really want to make that. I don't have the right yarn. So I ended up getting these two colors. I had picked something else out, and then I was like, no, I'm going to put those back. And I ended up getting these. I think these will be really soft, beautiful colors for the cowl. So I have one each of these. So those will be on the needles at some point this year, but I'm super pleased with those. And then we stopped over at Bat and Kill Fibers yarn. They also had a booth outside this year, which was really great. And they are actually just in the process of beginning to spin yarn for a new company called Hudson and West. And they had some samples of the yarn there already. So this is like a pre-sale kind of that. They'll be up and going a little bit later. This probably early next year actually. But this is 70% U.S. Merino and 30% U.S. Corriedale, and it's really beautiful. It's called Weld. I got a skein of this, so it's that green color again, I know, but it's really pretty, really, really pretty. And we also stopped over to see Carol, Foster Sheep Farm, of course, and from Carol, I picked up this beautiful tweed. This is Superwash BFL and Donegal, and it is really beautiful. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that, but it has all these little beautiful flecks of green, so that they're going to complement each other. And this project, I am going, with this yarn, I'm going to be making the Thorn by Laura Ayler. This is a new pattern. It's a new cowl pattern that has some striping in it, some short rows and some striping. I think I'll put a picture of it up here if I can. And I think these will go beautifully together. So hopefully this will be on the needles at some point later this year. So that's really all that I purchased at Rhinebeck this year. Surprise, surprise. But you know, for me, Rhinebeck is more just about the people. We did go back Sunday as well, and we got to see some more people. We also had a Knit Local retreat getaway meetup on Saturday afternoon, and that was really fun. So we all got together, or many of us who attend the Knit Local. We got to see Sarah Pomegranate. She did this beautiful Marie Wallen colorwork jacket, which was absolutely phenomenal, and we got to see that up close and personal. So that was really, really fun. And then Sunday was just a relaxed day, just hung out, got to see some people one more time. Yeah, it was really, really nice. And there's always people that I wanted to sit down and talk to that I didn't have a chance. I ran into Hay Brownberry at some point in a very packed building, and we got to have a hug, but we actually never got to connect up. So next time, Mars, next year, we should connect up and be able to sit down and talk for a little bit. But that was really fun. So really, it's just about, for me, Rhinebeck is about the people. It's about looking at all the beautiful knitwear, getting inspiration, just looking at pieces and thinking, oh, I'd love to knit that. Or like, oh, yeah, it's interesting at Rhinebeck because you see something that maybe you've looked at on Ravelry a lot, and then you actually see it in person, and you're like, no, I don't think that would fit me, particularly, because you really need to think about what your body type is like as well. And there are just some things that, not for me, which is helpful. It's always very helpful. But yeah, it's all about the people. It's just really about sharing a house together, getting together, being able to have some meals together, talking and knitting, and just sharing our love of craft. And so that is really always very, very special. So that was Rhinebeck this year, and I'm looking forward to next year already. All right, let's move on to the next section. So what else has been happening outside of Rhinebeck? Let's see. October is birthday month in this house. So Sophia's is on October 16th. Mark's is on October 26th, and mine is on October 30th. So we have a full month of birthday. It's a little bit crazy. I mean, it's not as crazy as when she was younger, but we do have quite a few birthdays all put together. So it's a big one for me. I did turn 60 this year. Doesn't really feel very different, but yeah, it was just fun. It was just nice and relaxing. My mother-in-law made us a big dinner, so for the three of us together. So that was very nice. Mark and I took a little bit of a trip to Cape Cod for a few days, which was also nice. We haven't been there in a while. We lived for a few years in Sandwich, which is on Cape Cod, the northern part of the Cape. So we really like it there. So we have a hotel that, a little motel that we go to when we do go down there. It's really beautiful. It doesn't look like much from the road, but the rooms are really beautifully well appointed. 4-poster bed, lovely, really lovely rugs, and yeah, it's very, 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 very nice. So we just kind of hung out and went to all the restaurants that we like to go to. We went and took a nice walk we took a walk on the canal the first day that we were there. And we actually think that we saw a shark in the canal. Now, if you don't know, the sharks have been moving up the coast more and more and more. Part of that is global warming because the water in the ocean is getting warmer all the time. Part of it is the fact that the seal population on the Cape is really exploding. So there's a food source and it's very warm. And we just have quite a few sharks. There are some, shark attacks sometimes there. It freaks Mark out. Totally freaks him out. You remember last year when he was rowing and there was a whale that breached right close to him. That freaked him out as well, but if there was a shark, it would be even more. He does not like sharks. So we took a walk on the Cape Cod Canal, which splits the canal, so you have to take one of the two bridges over, so that splits it off from Massachusetts. From the mainland of Massachusetts, I guess, I don't know, you wouldn't call the Cape an island. I suppose it could be, but so there's the canal that splits it in two, and so boats go back and forth through the canal. Ships go back and forth through there, and it's lovely, and they have a walking and bike path on either side of it. So that day we were walking along, and I saw this fin come out of the water, and I didn't say anything to him. And then we got farther down, and he saw it then. He's like, "What was that fin?" And so I was like, "I think it might be a shark." So because it was a large fin, and it came out of the water and it went down again, and it came out and it went down. He did grab a picture of it, and it did this like 3 or 4 times, and then it kind of went across the canal. And then when we were walking back, at some point there was this huge commotion, and it was something huge, really big, came up, and they were either going, after a fish or whatever, but there was this huge splash right in the middle of the canal. Yeah, we really think it was a shark in there. There had been a shark sighting just like 2 days before, just outside of the canal. Yeah, so he was pretty horrified by that. And then we went to in Sandwich. They have this really beautiful boardwalk area, and so you can take a boardwalk out over the dunes and get down to the beach. It's really gorgeous. He took a really cool picture of the boardwalk. It's really, really nice, and but I had seen this before, that they have new signs on Cape Cod beaches that say be shark aware. So I made him stand next to one, and I took a picture of it. I've never seen this on the Cape before. And we stopped at a couple of other different beaches along the way over the couple of days. Every single beach had a be shark aware. It's like, oh my God. I would never have my kids go in the water if I went on a Cape vacation. There's just no way. There's just way too many sharks down there, which is really different than when I was a youngster. But that was pretty crazy. But other than that, we had perfect weather. We could not have asked for better weather, and we had some really great meals, and we just got to walk on the beach, and that was really super nice. Just a really nice getaway for a couple of days. I also went to St. Louis for a really quick bop in and bop out conference that we went to. The hotel was right across the street from the baseball stadium, so that was kind of cool. The Cardinals were still in it at that point in time, but then they shortly were out. But that was kind of cool. We didn't see a game or anything, but it was kind of neat. And then what else? we are in the process. We've had some contractors in here because we are also in the process of, we have to have some renovation work done, especially on Sophia's bathroom upstairs. It's really old. I mean, it's old, and it really needs to be. The shower was leaking. We kind of put a stopgap fix to that, but we really just need to bite the bullet and get that replaced. And it's one of those things. It's hard to do when you have to do it, but it will increase the value of the house, and so we just need to, it needs to be modernized. It just is. Yeah, it just needs to be done. So that needs to be redone. We have to have a little bit of work on our bathroom as well. I think we need to put a new fan in there, and a couple of other things. But and we're also going to have some painting done. So our house over the next couple of months is going to be a little bit of a mess, depending upon what gets done when. So we have that coming up. Yesterday we started to move, or I didn't, Mark and a friend of his started to move some of the furniture because the painter is going to be coming in on Monday and going to start to do just the living room. And we're not changing the colors at all, but they need to be freshened up. The color scheme is probably the same as when these folks when they originally renovated the house. They're the same. It's been painted since then, but it's probably been a long time. And I think it'll look really beautiful when the paint gets freshened up. So that will be really actually nice. It's just getting through that. It's getting through that time period. It's like Mark said, it feels like we're moving house. We're not moving house, but it feels like it because I have to take all the books off the bookshelves, and just everything needs to be moved around. We're going to have to stay with my mother-in-law for a few days because the paint fumes are going to be a little bit too much, and it's gotten really cold, so we can't have like windows open and the fans going. Really, so that's going to be a little bit tough this week. Probably the hardest thing, the saddest thing. Maybe you've seen it on Instagram, but we had to put our little cat down. So you're not going to hear her little jingle anymore. But yeah, she was 11, so we've had her for a long, long time. We probably got her when she was a year old, so she's probably closer to 12 actually now. We got her a long time ago. Sophia was probably 13, 14, maybe 15. I don't really remember, but we had 2 cats before that, both of whom we had gotten from the pound, and both had conditions that we really weren't aware of, and they didn't last very long. The first one probably for a year, and then she had a really bad bowel obstruction, and then the second one had issues with behavioral issues. She didn't want to use the litter box, so that was a problem. That was a big problem. But when we had the second one put down, the vet at the time was like, if you guys are looking for another cat, we often take in stray cats, or people will bring us cats that they can't take care of, and so just give us a call. And so we did when we decided to get the next one. And I remember Sophia called me up and she's like, "Mom, would it be okay if we got a fluffy cat?" And I was like, "A fluffy cat?" And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me." And I came home and there was this like little puff ball, like full of hair and like 2 little eyes. Oh, and she got stuck behind furniture. Oh my gosh, it was a little bit crazy at the beginning, but she was super cute, long hair. So you have to take care of that differently. But she was just adorable. As if you watch the podcast, you've seen her on Instagram. Really good cat, super smart. Her name officially was Annabelle, but we never ever called her that. I don't even know. My mother might have come up with that name. I don't really even know. We just always called her Cat. She was just Cat, and she was never going to be anything but Cat. So she has had dental issues in the past. She had one tooth that was kind of falling out, and our old vet just kind of like, "Oh, what's that? Let's take that." He just took it out because he's like, it'd be out in a couple of days. She would have swallowed it. You wouldn't even have known. And then she had an abscess last year, and they were thinking about maybe taking them out at that point, but gave her some antibiotics, and it kind of cleared up in about 10 days, so she was okay. We took her back again, for her yearly checkup this year, and she had some teeth issues again, but they wanted to just kind of hold off on it, and then she just was not eating right. The vet was like, if you start not hearing her crunch her food, then it's time to come on in, and we'll think about doing something else with that. So that's kind of where we were. And a couple of weeks ago, I made an appointment and took her back in. I'm like, I think we probably need to do something with her teeth. And they looked at that one tooth, and the vet that day was like, yeah. She goes, you can see that there's an abscess there. We do need to take that one. We need to take that one out. We may need to take the one on the other side out as well. So we set up an appointment for her to get that done last week. I dropped her off in the morning, and I had to go into work for a meeting and then come back. And in between time, I had a call from the vet, and the vet was like, she said, we didn't even take the teeth out today because when we did the mouth exam, it turns out that she has a tumor under her tongue, and it's very aggressive. So she goes, you can pick her up today, but you'll basically want to think about putting her down soon because it's extremely aggressive, and there's basically no treatment for it. So that was really very sad. So I had to tell Sophia that. It was really hard for her because this is like really the cat that she really remembers. So it's sad, sad for Eb. It's not easy for anybody. This is the cat that follows my husband around the house, sits in his lap, the whole thing. He was like her person, but I think it turned out to be that way because he works at home, so he was the one that was always around. But we kept her for the weekend, and she just wasn't happy. She wasn't purring at all. She didn't really want to be touched. She she was certainly favoring her mouth and chin area. We have radiators in this old house, and so there's a table that she has taken to sitting on, and so she'd be underneath a lamp, which the heat would be on her head, and then she'd have her chin over the radiator, so the radiator so she was getting heat from both sides. So I just think that must have somehow felt a little bit better for her. She was definitely having difficulty drinking, and it's just not fair. It's just not fair. It becomes selfish to keep them around much longer than that. So we made the decision, and I called on Monday, and they were able to bring us in Monday morning. And it worked out because I work at home. We both work at home that day. So, and Sophia was pretty brave, and she came with me. They did a lovely job there, and it was, super, very peaceful. But it's tough because you kind of you think you see her out of the corner of your eye. My husband's like, I don't have anything hanging on my lap here. And Sophia's just very sad about it, but we will survive. And I'm sure at some point we will get another animal. Not right now. My husband has asked that if we're going to get one, that we don't get another cat until after we've gone on our Egypt trip next July, because he's like, I do not have the brain capacity to take care of a cat for 3 weeks while you guys are gone, especially a kitten, because we'd be getting a young cat again. So I think we will give him that. But probably we will get another animal at that time, but just not now. So that's really kind of what we've been dealing with this week. It's not the end of the world, but it certainly is. They certainly tug at your heart, and it was just very sad to see her, and we just had to make that decision to let her go. Other than that, we have been watching. What did we finish recently that was actually pretty good? It was. I'm gonna have to look it up now. We started watching the Jack Ryan show, the second season, and it was really wasn't really very, very good. I was actually very surprised, very, very surprised. I thought it was, the first one was okay. What am I looking for here? Oh, well, I can't find it, but anyway, so the show we were watching, which we actually enjoyed, we kind of binged all 3 seasons, was Goliath. We really liked that. A little weird in the 3rd season, but it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, we enjoyed it. We're not enjoying the Jack Ryan. I think we may just dump it. I also watched Raising Dion on Netflix. I think that's on Netflix, and that was enjoyable. I don't think it's something my husband would have liked, so I'm glad I just was kind of watching it on the bus. But I really enjoyed that as well. That was kind of interesting. I still have to watch the latest season of Shetland. I haven't. I've kind of been saving that. I kind of want to, when it gets really deep into cold November. That's kind of like Shetland weather for me, so I'll probably start watching that in a week or so. Get to the end of get to the end of that. But now we need to find something else. We need to find something else to watch. Yeah. So if you have any suggestions, let me know. Any good series that you've liked. It's hard because we watch a lot, so I like to have a couple of seasons backed up, because then you're like, oh, all right, I can start this, and if I like it, I've got like 3 or 4 seasons to watch. But that doesn't always happen. I think we'll probably start to watch his Dark Materials as well. I think that I've heard good things about that. I read all the books, so again, I'm not sure if my husband will watch that because he doesn't really like fantasy, but I can start to watch that. I think Sophia wants to watch that too, so maybe we'll sneak away and do that a couple of times. But yeah, it's just time to really snuggle in, and we'll be getting ready for Thanksgiving. I think we're going to have Thanksgiving at my in-laws' house. I think we may be cooking the turkey, so hopefully our painting will be done by then and having it over there. But yeah, so then it's on to Thanksgiving, and then of course the Christmas season will be in full swing, although CVS, Target, Marshalls already have their full-on Christmas already. It just really boggles my mind that they do that early. But anyway, I hope that you are satisfied and have a lot of great knitting projects on the go. And don't forget to go and enter the Meet the Designer for this week. Maybe you'll be the winner of a fresh new pattern from Piper now. And yeah, and remember, it's just knitting.